And welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. This is going to be a Tuesday afternoon video and is another in the series of profiles of some of Celtic's great players during the time I've been watching Celtic as a fan since the early 1970s. And the player being profiled, a true Celtic great, Tom Rogic, often called Celtic's Wizard of Oz, who played for Celtic from January 2013 through to May of 2022, and during that time scored a considerable number of important goals and a considerable number of spectacular goals, and rarely ever scored a simple tap-in type goal, and is a favourite player of many of us Celtic fans who supported Celtic during the 2010s and 2020s. In the video, we'll have a wee look at some of his stats, one or two thoughts on his career, and there's also, in the middle, a wee selection of some of the big goals he scored for Celtic, some of the important goals he scored for Celtic, and there are also a few goals he scored against Rangers, and I've put most of those in on two occasions just because they're so much fun to watch. So Tom Rogic, born in 1992, so still only 32 years old at time of recording. He was Australian, played 53 times for his country, scoring 10 goals, 6'2", and he primarily was an attacking midfielder and central midfielder. Occasionally did play as a second striker, very occasionally did play out wide, but primarily was a central midfielder with an attacking intent. Started his career in Australia, made his name at Central Coast Mariners, and was signed by Celtic for a fee of around about £500,000 in January 2013, making his debut against Inverness Cali Thistle in the February of that year, and remained at Celtic from January 2013 to when he left in May of 2022. And over his time at Celtic, won 16 trophies, 6 leagues, 5 Scottish Cups and 5 Scottish League Cups. He played initially under Neil Lennon, then under Ronnie Deila for a couple of seasons, then 2 and a bit seasons under Brendan Rodgers, then more seasons under Neil Lennon, and finished off with a season under his fellow Australian Ange Postecoglou. During his time at Celtic, he played 272 games with 46 goals and 51 assists for Celtic, and in his whole career, 334 games, 53 goals, 58 assists. He also spent time, as I said, playing for Central Coast Mariners before he came to Celtic. He had a spell back on loan at Melbourne Victory whilst as a Celtic player, and then chose to let his contract lapse in May of 2022, later signing on a free transfer for West Bromwich Albion, where he spent 1 season. However, at the age of 30, decided to retire and move back to Australia to be a husband and a dad, and had struggled off and on with injuries for much of his career, primarily of his knee and ankle, and was quite prone to leg injuries and leg problems over his time, and chose to retire at the young age of 30 to spend time with his family, and did come back to play in a Celtic Masters team recently in a friendly in September. What we'll do now is we'll pop in those goal highlights, some absolutely brilliant goals, such as his amazing last-minute winner against Kilmarnock in March of 2016, a long-range shot. He was wearing the all-green strip at that time. Of course, there was the famous cup final winning goal against Aberdeen in 2017, in a game that looked destined to go into extra time and penalties. And one of my other favourite goals was in his last season at Celtic in a 2-1 away win at Rangers, scoring the first goal with a great left-footed shot from a rebound. And he had a particular talent, as I said, for scoring spectacular goals. Scored a lot of goals against Aberdeen, a lot of goals against Rangers, was often a player for the big match, and came through as a star player for Celtic in those games. So just going to pop in those goal highlights of his 9-year career at Celtic. And I'm sure you'll see quite a lot of your favourite Tom Rogic goals, and maybe even one or two of your all-time favourite goals in that time. After we've had a look at the goal highlight video, which lasts about 6-7 minutes, one or two wee closing thoughts regarding Celtic's Aussie great Tom Rogic. Tom Rogic, one of my favourite players of the 2010s and 2022s, was a Celtic player under quite a number of different Celtic managers, and he was an important player for all those managers. As I say, playing an attacking midfielder role, was a very good passer, tremendously powerful shot. Quite often it felt like when he did take a shot at goal, it seemed to gather pace and power as it sped towards the goal. Incredible left foot, although actually pretty decent with his right foot as well. Good, strong player on the ball, good vision to find a pass, and also very good at running with the ball, as was shown in that cup winner goal against Aberdeen in 2017. Only wee slight drawback with Tom Rogic, as I say, was his fitness issues. Didn't tend to ever play a full 90 minutes of a game for Celtic, and towards the end of his career, quite often came on, played as a starter and played a good 60, 70 minutes or so and then went off, or quite often came on around about the hour mark and finished the last 30 minutes or so of the game, and as I say, did tend to struggle to play a full 90 minutes towards the end of his career, which I'm sure was part of his decision to retire at the age of 30. And since retiring in October of 2023 at the age of 30, he's kind of avoided the media spotlight, kind of, as I say, to spend time with his family and his children, and has not really got himself involved in coaching or punditry, etc. So hopefully you enjoyed that wee tribute to Tom Rogic. There are quite a number of other videos in the series for some of Celtic's greats over the years, and so do have a wee look at those as well. And so until the next video, goodbye and hail, hail.